I didn't hear the front door, I felt it. That subtle shift in the air, the click of heels against hardwood, the faint perfume that didn't belong to the empty house I'd been living in for the past week. When I turned, she was there. Leaning in the doorway, holding a small overnight bag, her hair loose in a way that said she hadn't planned to see anyone. Didn't think anyone was here, she said, her tone casual but not careless. I was just feeding the cat, I lied, though the bowl had been full since morning. She smiled, not wide, just enough for one corner of her mouth to lift. He never could remember to do that himself. I should have looked away. I didn't. The house wasn't big, but it felt different with her inside it. Smaller, warmer, heavier somehow. The kind of quiet that makes you conscious of your breathing. She walked past me, her shoulder brushing mine lightly. I caught a faint trace of her perfume, something soft, clean, and expensive, the kind that lingers longer than it should. "You're Mark's cousin, right?" she asked, glancing over her shoulder. "Yeah. Alex." "Right." She paused at the counter, setting down her bag. "I thought you'd already left." "I should have. I'd planned to. But the rain had started earlier than expected, and somehow, I'd convinced myself to stay one more night." Her eyes flicked toward the window, where the rain streaked against the glass in long, lazy lines. "Well," she said, almost to herself, "looks like you're stuck here now." It sounded harmless. It wasn't. Something in her voice made my pulse shift, not faster, exactly, but more deliberate. Every sound in the house seemed sharper now, the hum of the refrigerator, the rain ticking on the roof, the soft sound of her fingers drumming against the counter. She turned, arms crossed loosely. "You hungry?" "I was going to order something." "Sure," I said, even though I wasn't. She nodded, pulled out her phone. Her nails were short, neat, the color of pale wine. I watched her scroll, and for a moment, she looked younger. Or maybe I just wanted her to. "You can sit," she said without looking up. I sat. The kitchen light made a soft halo on her skin. Every move she made felt intentional, like she'd learned long ago how to make space feel her own. "What do you usually eat?" she asked. "Anything. I'm easy." Her eyes flicked up, caught mine, lingered just a little too long. "I bet you are." I laughed, too quickly, too nervously. She smiled again, softer this time, and went back to her phone. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It filled everything between us, the space across the counter, the air I couldn't quite swallow right. When she finally looked at me again, it wasn't a full stare. Just a glance. A small test. And I failed it, couldn't look away, couldn't think of anything to say that didn't sound like an admission. She broke the moment with a sigh, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "I'll grab some towels. You probably got soaked coming in." "Yeah," I said quietly. Her steps faded up the stairs, slow and even. I sat there, still hearing the faint echo of her heels against the wood. The rain pressed harder against the windows, like it was waiting for something to happen. Then, a sound from upstairs. A door opening. Her voice, low, but not to me. And suddenly, the quiet wasn't safe anymore. She came back downstairs wearing an oversized sweater, sleeves rolled up, hair damp around her face. She carried a towel and tossed it toward me, the faintest smile at the corner of her mouth. "You're dripping on Mark's floor," she said. "Guess that's my way of redecorating," I said, half under my breath. She didn't laugh, not exactly, just exhaled through her nose, the kind of sound that could have been amusement or something close to it. I rubbed my hair with the towel, trying not to look at her legs tucked beneath her on the couch. She'd curled up with a mug of tea, phone forgotten beside her. The glow from the lamp traced the soft lines of her face, catching the faint tiredness beneath her eyes. It wasn't the kind of tired that sleep fixes. I sat across from her, pretending to scroll through my phone too. "How long have you two been together?" I asked before I could stop myself. She looked at me, sharp for a second. Then her voice softened. "Mark and I, 15 years. Off and on. Off and on." She took a sip from her mug. "Marriage isn't a straight line, Alex. Some years you like each other. Some years you just live beside each other." There was no bitterness in her tone, just fact. But it carried weight, like a confession she didn't mean to give. I wanted to ask more. I didn't. Instead, I leaned back and watched the rain through the window. "You ever get used to being alone in a house this big?" "Used to it? Sure." She paused. "Like you get used to cold coffee." Something in that sentence stayed with me. The way she said it, quiet, almost careless, like she'd built a life out of small discomforts. I looked back at her. She was watching me too now, though she pretended not to. Her fingers played absently with the handle of the mug, turning it, tapping it once. "You have someone?" she asked, her tone light but her eyes steady. "No," I said. "Not really." "Not really," she repeated. "That sounds like almost." "Maybe almost," I said. "Or just, not enough." She nodded slowly, as if she understood too well. The silence stretched, comfortable at first, then charged. I felt the pull of it, her gaze, the air between us. My pulse picked up. I looked away, back toward the window. "You can move closer," she said suddenly, eyes still on the rain. "It's warmer by the fireplace." I hesitated. Then I stood, crossed the room, and sat beside her. The cushion dipped, our knees almost touching. She didn't move. The fire crackled softly, filling the space that neither of us seemed able to. Her hand rested against the couch between us, close enough that I could feel the warmth radiating from her skin. "I forget how quiet it gets here," she said. "When he's gone." Her voice carried something new, not sadness exactly, but an edge of confession. I glanced at her hand again, at the faint tremor in her fingers before she curled them into her palm. "You like quiet?" I asked. "Sometimes. Until it starts listening back." She smiled faintly then, and the air shifted. She looked up at me, steady, open, unreadable. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Her breath brushed the side of my jaw when she finally leaned forward to set her mug down on the table. My throat went dry. She straightened, met my eyes again, and in that second the world narrowed, the fire, the rain, her, nothing else. Her sleeve brushed my wrist as she pulled her hand back. The contact was nothing, and too much. "Sorry," she said quietly. "For what?" She hesitated, one heartbeat too long. "For forgetting I'm the adult here." Her tone was meant to break the tension, but it didn't. I smiled, unsure of what to do with my hands. "Doesn't really feel like that." "I know," she said softly. Then she stood, smoothed her sweater, and walked toward the kitchen. "I'll get you something to eat before it gets too late." I sat there, staring at the faint steam curling from her half-finished tea, wondering how something could feel wrong and right in the same breath. Before I could answer that question, she turned back. "Alex," she said. "Yeah?" Her eyes lingered on me, unreadable. "Don't leave tonight. The roads are bad." It wasn't a request. It was an invitation wrapped in reason. And I said yes before I even realized I'd nodded. Morning came in pale light. The rain hadn't stopped. It hummed against the windows, steady and soft, like it didn't want to leave. She was in the kitchen when I came down, barefoot, hair tied up, robe hanging loose at her wrist. The smell of coffee mixed with rain and something faintly floral. "Morning," she said, without turning. I leaned against the doorway. "You always up this early?" "Couldn't sleep." She poured coffee into 2 mugs. "You snore." I grinned. "I do not." "Then it must have been the house," she said, sliding 1 mug toward me. "It creaks like it's trying to remember things." I took the cup. Our fingers brushed, quick, accidental, but it lingered longer in my head than it should have. She noticed, I think. Her eyes lifted to mine, and for a second, neither of us remembered how to move. Then her phone buzzed on the counter. She flinched, the sound sharper than it should have been. Her eyes flicked to the screen, a name lit up. "Mark." She didn't answer. I pretended not to see. Took a sip of coffee, let the heat ground me. "He's calling early," I said quietly. "Yeah," she murmured. "He does that sometimes." The phone stopped buzzing. Silence fell between us, heavy and full. She looked up, her smile thin. "He's in Chicago for work." I nodded. "You miss him?" Her hand stilled on the counter. "That's a complicated question, Alex." "I didn't mean to." "It's okay," she said quickly. "You're curious. That's normal." But her tone said she wasn't talking about curiosity anymore. She turned back to the sink, rinsing her cup, avoiding my eyes. I should have left then, gone upstairs, grabbed my bag, done the reasonable thing. Instead, I stepped closer. Not close enough to touch, but close enough that I could see the tiny freckle on her neck, just below the curve of her jaw. "You don't talk like someone happy," I said softly. She froze. The faucet ran too long. When she turned, Her voice was calm again. You're too young to think you can read people. Maybe, I said. But I can hear what you don't say. That did it. Her eyes met mine, steady, unguarded. The kind of look that lasts 1 second too long. The air changed again. She took a breath, her chest rising slowly, and for a moment, it felt like the whole room leaned toward her. I didn't move. Couldn't. Alex, she said quietly, you should go get dressed before breakfast. I didn't. Her hand came up, maybe to gesture, maybe to stop me, but it hovered near my shoulder, trembling slightly. The robe sleeve slipped down, and I could see the delicate line of her wrist, the soft edge of skin that made time feel slower. I wasn't supposed to come home early, she whispered. I know. The words came out lower than I meant. I shouldn't be standing this close to you, she said. Then why are you? She didn't answer. Outside, thunder rolled somewhere far off, low and quiet, like a warning. Her phone buzzed again. This time, the sound broke everything. She stepped back, fast, turned away to grab it. Hello? Her voice was sharp now, too bright. Yeah. No, everything's fine. The cat's fine. He's here, yes, Alex. He's helping. I stood there, hands useless at my sides, listening to her say my name like it didn't mean anything. When she hung up, she didn't look at me right away. That was Mark, she said softly. He might stop by next weekend. Oh. She nodded, eyes fixed on the rain. We should probably keep things simple. Sure, I said. But when she finally turned toward me again, something in her expression contradicted every word she'd just spoken. Her lips parted like she might say something else, but she didn't. Instead, she stepped forward, slow, her hand brushing my arm as she reached for her mug. Neither of us moved away. The space between us narrowed to a breath. Then she said, barely audible, this has to stop. But she didn't move. And neither did I. The storm had moved inland by evening. The house creaked with wind, shadows sliding across the walls like slow waves. She'd poured wine after dinner, just 1 glass, she said, and now we were both pretending not to notice it was empty. We were sitting too close on the couch. Again. She had a blanket draped around her shoulders, her knees drawn up, bare feet tucked under her. The firelight hit her face in pieces, warm against her cheek, soft on her collarbone, the kind of glow that makes every glance dangerous. You're quiet tonight, she said. I was waiting for you to talk first. She smiled faintly, eyes still on the flames. You think too much. Maybe. You don't think enough. Her head turned then, just slightly, enough for her eyes to find mine. That's not fair. I know. The air thickened. Her gaze didn't move. My throat went dry. You shouldn't look at me like that, she said softly. Like what? Like you know what you're doing. I almost laughed, a small, shaky sound. I don't. She nodded once, almost approving. Good. But she didn't move away. A strand of her hair fell forward, catching the light. Before I could stop myself, I reached out. My fingers brushed it back, grazing the side of her face, slow, hesitant. Her skin was warm. She didn't breathe for a moment. Then she whispered, you shouldn't. I know. Then stop. But she didn't pull back. The fire popped. The sound made both of us flinch, breaking the spell for half a second. Then her voice came, low, quiet, breaking through the hum of the rain. Do you think this means something? I don't know, I said. Does it have to? She stared at me, and there it was, that flicker of fear beneath everything else. You don't understand what this could ruin. I'm not trying to ruin anything. Then what are you doing? The question hit harder than I expected. My hands clenched in my lap, useless. I stopped. I just can't stop noticing you. Her breath caught. Just slightly. Noticing, she repeated, almost mocking, but her voice trembled. The way you tuck your hair when you're nervous, I said. The way you never finish a sentence when you're trying not to say something real. That did it. Her composure faltered. She looked away, lips pressed together, then stood abruptly. You shouldn't talk to me like that, she said, voice thin. I'm sorry. She shook her head, pacing toward the window. Don't apologize. It makes it worse. I stood too, not sure what I was doing. The distance between us felt unbearable. She pressed a hand to the glass. If anyone saw this, they'd think what's true, I said quietly. She turned then. There was something in her eyes I hadn't seen before, anger, yes, but also something rawer, like the truth finally cornered. "You think this is easy for me?" she said, voice breaking. "You think I haven't?" She stopped, caught her breath. "You make me feel ridiculous." I stepped closer. "You're not." Her laugh came out thin, shaky. "God, you're too young to mean that." "Maybe," I said. "But I still do." She looked up at me, eyes glossy now. I could feel the heat between us, the pulse of something that couldn't be taken back. Her hand came up, barely touching my chest, more a tremor than a gesture. "Alex," she breathed. I leaned in, close enough to feel her breath on my skin. Everything slowed, the rain, the fire, her pulse beneath her hand. "This is a mistake," she whispered. "Probably," I said. Her eyes flicked to my mouth, then back. And just as the space between us vanished, a sharp knock hit the front door. We froze. Her hand dropped. My heart didn't. The knock came again, louder this time. Her whisper cut through the silence, "Don't move." The knock came again, louder this time, steady and deliberate. She looked at me, wide-eyed, breath caught halfway. "Stay here," she whispered, her voice barely holding steady. I nodded, stepping back as she crossed the room. The hem of her robe brushed her legs, the belt hanging loose. Every sound, her footsteps, the rain, my heartbeat, felt amplified, raw. When she opened the door, cold air spilled inside, along with a man's voice. "Lisa?" Her cousin's name for her, not honey, not babe. Just Lisa. I exhaled silently. It wasn't Mark. "Eli," she said, half a sigh, half a warning. "What are you doing here?" I tried calling. "You didn't answer." His voice had a casual edge, but it carried something else too, curiosity, suspicion maybe. "Mark said you were in Chicago." "He was supposed to be." "I was nearby," he continued, stepping just past the doorway. His eyes darted behind her, toward the faint glow of the fire, the empty wine glasses. "Didn't realize you had company." Her silence lasted a fraction too long. Then she turned slightly toward me, forcing something like a smile. "Eli, this is Alex, Mark's cousin. He's house-sitting for us." Eli's gaze found me. Me, standing barefoot by the couch, a blanket tossed aside like evidence. "House-sitting," he repeated. "Yeah," I said, my voice coming out lower than I meant. He looked from me to her, reading the space between us the way only family can. "Huh." Lisa folded her arms. "It's late, Eli." He nodded slowly. "Right. Just thought I'd check in. Make sure everything's okay." Her jaw tightened. "Everything's fine." He didn't move at first. The rain thudded harder, filling the silence. Then, finally, he exhaled and stepped back. "All right," he said. "Tell Mark I stopped by." She nodded. "I will." He lingered one more heartbeat, eyes flicking toward the couch again, then turned and left. The door closed. The sound echoed. For a long time, neither of us spoke. Lisa leaned her forehead against the wood, one hand flat against it. The tension drained out of her shoulders all at once. "God," she whispered. "He saw the glasses." "He didn't know anything," I said quietly. She turned, eyes sharp. "He's not stupid, Alex. He'll say something. He'll wonder. I can leave." She shook her head quickly. "No. Not yet. If you leave now, it'll look worse." Her hand brushed through her hair, restless. She looked different now, the calm gone, replaced by something frantic beneath the surface. "I shouldn't have let you stay," she said, voice low. "I keep thinking I'm still in control, but I'm not." "Lisa, no," she held up a hand, but her fingers trembled. I can't think straight when you're here." I stepped closer, cautious. "Then tell me to go." Her lips parted, but no sound came out. She took a small step backward instead, bumping into the side table. The lamp wobbled, she steadied it with a shaking hand. "You should never have been here," she said again, softer this time. "But I was," I said. "And now what?" Her voice cracked. "You think this turns into something? You think we just, what? Pretend the world disappears because it's raining outside?" Her words hit like sharp air. But under them, there was fear, the kind that comes when you want something you can't admit. I took another step. "I don't know what happens. I just know that every time I try to act like I don't feel this, it gets worse." She exhaled, a small, ragged sound. "You have no idea what this could cost me." "Then why are you shaking?" Her eyes closed. Because I've been pretending I don't feel it too. That silence, it wasn't relief. It was weight. Heavy, dangerous, real. She opened her eyes again, and there it was, everything she'd been holding back, now flickering just beneath the surface. I reached for her, slow, giving her space to stop me. She didn't. My hand brushed her arm, just a touch, and her breath hitched. "Lisa," I said quietly, "don't." But she didn't move away. Her hand came up, hovered near my chest, then pressed lightly against it, as if to steady herself, or maybe to test the distance left between us. "I keep waiting for you to do something unforgivable," she whispered. "So I don't have to." I swallowed hard. Maybe we already did. Outside, a car door slammed, Eli leaving, finally. She looked toward the sound, then back at me. Her voice was barely a whisper. "You should go upstairs." "Why?" "Because if you stay here, I won't stop." Her hand was still on my chest, her pulse thudding against my skin through her fingers. I didn't answer. I just stood there, caught between what she said and what her body betrayed. She turned first, walking toward the staircase, slow, conflicted, trembling slightly. At the bottom step, she paused and looked back. The firelight caught her eyes, reflecting something that wasn't fear anymore. "Don't follow me," she said. But she didn't mean it. And both of us knew I would. I stood at the bottom of the stairs for a long time after she disappeared from view. The fire had burned low, the rain still pressing soft fingers against the windows. The whole house felt like it was listening. Her footsteps upstairs stopped. A faint creak followed, her bedroom door opening. Then nothing. I told myself to stay where I was. To sleep on the couch. To do the right thing. But the right thing felt smaller than the air I was breathing. When I finally moved, it wasn't a decision. It was gravity. The stairs complained under my weight, slow, hesitant steps. The light from the hall spilled out from her door, soft and gold, cutting a thin line across the floor. She was standing by the window when I reached it, arms folded, still in that robe. The storm threw flashes of silver against her skin. She didn't turn when she heard me. "I told you not to follow me," she said quietly. "I know." Her reflection in the glass showed the faintest curve of a smile. "You never listen. Neither do you." That made her turn. She looked at me, really looked. The tension in her shoulders gave way, her breath slowing, her voice lowering to almost nothing. "Do you even know what you're doing?" "No," I said. "Do you?" She let out a quiet laugh that wasn't quite a laugh. "Not anymore." I took a step closer. The storm filled the silence, wind whistling through the trees outside. Her hand brushed the edge of the dresser, a small, nervous movement. My own hand twitched, wanting to reach for her but stopping halfway. "I keep thinking about that moment downstairs," I said. "If he hadn't knocked." "Don't," she interrupted. Her voice was soft, pleading. "Don't finish that." But her eyes said she'd been finishing it all night. We stood there, inches apart. Her breath mixed with mine. The air felt dense, charged. Every second stretched until it hurt. "Lisa," I said, her name small in my throat. She looked up, her face close enough for me to see the faint shimmer of tears at the corners of her eyes. "I'm not supposed to want this," she said. "Neither am I." "Then why are you here?" "Because I can't not be." Something in her broke then, not loudly, not visibly, but in the way she exhaled, the way her eyes softened like she'd finally stopped fighting. Her hand lifted. It hovered near my face, fingers trembling before brushing my jaw, a touch so careful it almost wasn't one. "You make me feel," she started, then stopped, shaking her head. "No. That's not fair." "Then tell me to go," I whispered. "I can't." The distance between us vanished. The warmth of her skin radiated against mine, our foreheads almost touching. Her voice came out raw. "If I do this, I can't take it back. I don't want you to." For a long second, neither of us breathed. Her fingers traced the side of my neck, slow, unsure, real. Then she closed her eyes. I thought she would step into me. She didn't. Instead, she leaned her forehead against mine and whispered, "You should leave in the morning." The words landed softly but final. "I know," I said. Her hand stayed on my cheek a moment longer, her thumb brushing the corner of my mouth, almost, but not quite. Then she stepped back, eyes glistening, voice steadier now. "Go before I change my mind." I nodded. But neither of us moved. The storm outside softened to a drizzle. The air in the room still hummed, alive with everything we didn't do. She turned back to the window, wiping her cheek. I didn't lie, she said quietly. When I said you made me feel seen. I didn't think you did. That made her smile, small and sad. Good night, Alex. I stood there one heartbeat longer, memorizing the sound of her voice, the glow of her skin in the lightning. Then I walked away, knowing we hadn't crossed the line, but we'd erased every reason not to. And in that moment, we both finally understood, the hardest part wasn't what almost happened. It was knowing neither of us would ever forget that it almost did. The rain finally stopped just before dawn. When I woke, the house was washed clean, brighter, quieter, the kind of quiet that comes after something has already changed. I expected her to be gone, or at least distant. But when I came downstairs, she was there, sitting on the couch, legs folded beneath her, a mug of coffee in both hands. She looked up when she heard me. "Morning," she said softly. "Morning." Her voice carried no tension this time. Just calm. Maybe even peace. There was a folded blanket beside her, the one she must have used after I'd gone to the guest room. She patted the cushion next to her without looking at me. "Come sit before it gets cold." I did. For a moment, neither of us said anything. The sunlight filtered in, catching dust in the air, tiny flecks turning slow circles. It felt almost unreal, like time had slowed down just to make space for us. "You didn't leave," she said after a while. "I said I'd go in the morning. You usually keep your word?" "Not always," I said, smiling a little. That got the faintest laugh out of her, tired, genuine. "Honesty suits you." I watched her sip her coffee, the way her hands cradled the mug. The robe was gone now. She wore a soft gray sweater, sleeves pushed up, her hair still a little messy from sleep. She looked more herself this way. "I kept thinking all night," she said quietly. "About what happened. About what didn't." "Me too." She set the mug down, her eyes on the window. "You know, I thought I'd feel guilty this morning. But I don't." "Good," I said. She smiled faintly. "You sound surprised. I thought you'd tell me it was all a mistake." "It wasn't." Her hand rested on her knee, fingers tracing small circles, absent-minded, nervous. I watched them move, then finally reached over and placed my hand over hers. She froze for a second, then turned her palm to meet mine. The touch was small, but it carried everything, all the words we hadn't said, the restraint, the wanting, the fear. "I don't know what this is," she said finally. "Or what it's supposed to be." "I don't either," I admitted. "But I don't think we have to name it yet." She looked at me then, really looked. The sunlight hit her face just right, catching the faint lines near her eyes, the curve of her smile. "Do you ever worry about what people would say?" she asked. "Of course," I said. "But I care more about what you'd say." She blinked slowly, as if steadying herself. Then she leaned in, resting her head lightly against my shoulder. The weight of it, gentle, warm, real, made everything else fade. We sat like that for a long time. The fire had gone cold, but the room felt warm anyway. "You know this isn't simple," she murmured. "I don't need it to be," I said. Her hand tightened around mine, fingers threading through, slow and deliberate. "I don't know where this goes," she whispered. "Then we'll find out." She smiled, small, quiet, but sure. I turned my head slightly, close enough that my lips brushed her hair, and whispered, "Lisa?" "Yeah. Thanks for not closing the door last night." She lifted her head just enough to look at me. "Thanks for walking through it." For a while, there was nothing else to say. The storm was gone. The air smelled clean. We just sat there, her head on my shoulder, our hands still joined, watching the light move across the room, knowing that whatever we were, it was real enough for now. And that was enough. 8.